All right, so are you ready to dive deep today?
Oh, always ready. Let's do it.
Great. So today we're going to look at just one scene.
Okay.
One scene,
Lindsay.
but it's a real pressure cooker of a moment, and I think it's going to reveal a lot about the character at the heart of it.
All right. I'm intrigued.
Yeah, so you're going to get a glimpse of this world, right, that's on the brink of disaster.
Okay.
Where literally one man's choices could mean the difference between life and death.
High stakes.
Really high stakes.
Yeah.
And to really help us navigate this pressure cooker,
Mm-hmm.
we have our expert here with us today, someone who can really unpack the motivations and the psychology that are at play.
Well, I'm happy to do that. I'm always fascinated by the choices that characters make when they're facing something unthinkable.
Well, the unthinkable is definitely happening in this scene.
Got it.
We're just dropped right into the middle of this catastrophic event. Think, like citywide chaos, buildings are crumbling, that kind of thing. And this is all happening at a place called EGO, the Establishment for Genome Optimization.
Ah.
So not exactly your friendly neighborhood,
Not your average Tuesday.
bakery or whatever.
No, not at all. It sounds like the setting itself already kind of hints at some of the power dynamics,
Right.
the ethical maybe complexities that we might be dealing with.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
right in the middle of all of this is Damien,
Right.
the son of the infamous Dr. Biabolo.
Okay.
Or Dr. D, as he's sometimes called.
Dr. D. Huh?
Yeah. And it's clear, like, right away that their relationship, strained is putting it lightly.
Okay.
Like, Damien fully hates his father,
Yeah.
and you get the sense that there's, like, a history of abuse there.
That underlying tension, I think, is really crucial because it suggests that maybe Damien is rebelling against more than just the immediate crisis that's going on.
Yeah.
Maybe against his father's whole legacy. Right?
Wow, that's such a good point. And speaking of rebellion, Dr. D is all about self-preservation. He's urging Damien to join him in this bunker, ride out the disaster in safety.
Yeah.
But Damien refuses. Point blank.
Wow.
He's got one goal,
Okay.
one driving force.
Yeah.
Find Rachel.
So this is where we start to see, like, the core of who Damien is.
Yes.
It's not fear. It's not self-interest.
Yeah.
This is love and loyalty.
Mm-hmm.
They're a pretty profound degree, I would say.
Yeah. He even repeats this phrase over and over.
Okay.
Nothing else matters.
Nothing else matters.
Which I think becomes almost like a mantra for him in this moment, highlighting just how unwavering his commitment is to Rachel.
Powerful stuff.
Yeah. Now, Rachel lives outside of Santa Cruz,
Okay.
which under normal circumstances
Yeah.
would be, maybe an hour's drive. But these are definitely not normal circumstances.
Right. Every second counts. I mean, you can feel that urgency in the writing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And of course, Damien's journey is not going to be easy. His BMW is out of commission. Regular cars are too slow, too vulnerable,
Yeah.
Even a Hummer ends up being too big, too
Wow.
impractical.
Yeah, he needs something nimble.
Yeah, something that can kind of weave through this chaos.
Right.
So it's almost like the external world is mirroring Damien's internal state, right? It's just this urgency and desperation and this need to just break free from, the constraints of his normal life.
I like that. I like that a lot. So what does he do? How does he do it?
And that's when he sees it. A beat-up motorcycle.
Motorcycle? Interesting. That's an interesting choice, especially given what you said about his history with dirt bikes.
Oh, yeah.
So it makes you think, is there a little recklessness there?
Yeah.
A willingness to embrace the danger, maybe even, I don't know, a little thrill-seeking.
Yeah, and I love how the author does this thing where it's like, show, don't tell,
Yeah?
Instead of just coming right out and being like, this is what Damien's like, we see it through his actions, through his choice of transportation,
Yeah.
even his thoughts as he's going through this grumbling city.
Yeah. It's really clever how the author reveals character. Makes you wonder, though, if that recklessness, could be both his saving grace and his downfall. It's almost as if the motorcycle itself becomes like a symbol.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's not just like getting around.
Right.
It's like part of him.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think considering his relationship with his father, that beat-up motorcycle takes on even more meaning, don't you think?
Oh, yeah, totally.
It's like a rejection of Dr. D's world. It's raw, unpredictable, and in Damien's hands, it becomes a tool of defiance.
That's a good way to put it. And, as he's weaving through these streets, right, that are just filled with debris,
Yeah.
we get these glimpses of Damien's past, like his childhood,
That's-
spent riding dirt bikes. So it's like,
So there's some expertise there.
oh, yeah.
He's not just, some novice.
Uh-huh.
This is a guy who's comfortable with risk.
Yeah, definitely.
You remember that line?
Yeah.
where he says, this is a blast.
Yeah.
Even in the middle of all this chaos, there's a part of him that's really thriving on this. The adrenaline,
Yeah.
pushing himself to the edge, makes you wonder, is this just thrill-seeking? Or is it something deeper?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, could this be a way for him to kind of escape his father's shadow?
Mm.
Prove his own strength?
Prove his independence.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it ties into that bigger question of his motivations, because here's where it gets really interesting. He doesn't go straight to Rachel's house.
Right.
He goes to Josh's place first.
Yeah. Who is this Josh?
Exactly. What's the connection there?
What's going on? Why is he going there first?
It's like a whole new layer of complexity gets added, right?
Yeah.
I mean, is he worried about Josh's safety? Is there some rivalry there? Or is there something else going on that we haven't even seen yet?
Yeah, we don't know yet, but it definitely raises the stakes and makes you want to keep reading.
Oh, absolutely.
But even with this detour, Damien doesn't lose sight of the bigger picture. There's that moment where he almost hits a child in the road.
Yeah.
So he swerves at the last second.
Oh, wow. So even with everything going on, right, he still manages to avoid this tragedy.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about, really highlighting his humanity.
Right.
This is someone who cares about others, even strangers.
Even in the middle of his own crisis.
Yeah, and it makes his ultimate fate even more powerful, because just as we think he might actually make it.
Right, when he's so close.
Yeah, he crashes.
It's intense, right?
Brutal scene. The author doesn't hold back on the violence of that impact.
Yeah.
It's like 1 minute, he's defying gravity, and the next, he's unconscious, and his future's totally up in the air.
Yeah, it's almost like that crash is symbolic of something bigger,
How so?
It's no matter how skilled you are, how determined you are, sometimes fate just has other plans.
That's a really interesting way to look at it. I like that a lot. So the author uses that sudden stop to remind us that everything can change in an instant.
Exactly. And we're left wondering, will Damien survive this? Will he ever get to Rachel? And what's going to happen when he gets there?
So many questions. That's what keeps you reading.
Yeah. Yeah.
The author knows how to keep us on the edge of our seats.
Totally. But beyond just the suspense, I think what we see here is a really deep exploration of Damien's character.
Mm-hmm.
We see his courage, his recklessness, his love for Rachel,
right,
his concern for other people. All of these seemingly contradictory traits.
Yeah.
Come together to paint this really complex portrait of who he is.
Exactly. And I think that's what makes this scene so powerful. It's not just about the action. It's about human nature. It's about the fact that even in extreme situations, we're never just one thing.
Yeah. I mean, it really makes you think
about
the choices that we make when everything's falling apart.
Mm-hmm.
What guides us then,
Right. What are we willing to fight for? What are we willing to let go of?
Yeah. What are we willing to sacrifice? And this scene, I think, just throws those questions right at us.
It does. And it's not just about Damien's feelings for Rachel.
Mm-hmm.
It's also about, how he's rejecting everything his father stands for.
Oh, that's such a good point. It's Damien's journey is this, mini version of a much bigger struggle between, just surviving and thinking about other people, control versus freedom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The legacy that we're given versus the choices that we make for ourselves.
Exactly. And the author, I think, does a really good job of not giving us easy answers, right?
Right.
Because Damien's recklessness, it's both good and bad.
Exactly. Yeah.
His love for Rachel, it pushes him forward, but it also might make him miss some really important things.
Yeah. It's complicated, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's not perfect.
No.
And I think that's what makes this whole scene so thought-provoking.
It really sticks with you.
It does.
So as we're wrapping up our deep dive today, I've got one final question for you and for everyone listening. If you were Damien in this moment, facing something you've never seen before, running out of time, what would you risk for someone you loved?
Wow. That's a question that really makes you think about what matters most.
What would be your nothing else matters moment?
Yeah.
Well, on that note, I think we'll leave everyone with that question to consider. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
And until next time, keep exploring, keep asking those questions, and, keep those nothing else matters moments